on page 98, 99, Ritzeh, Adonai, take pleasure, lovingly accept our fervent prayer. May our prayer always be acceptable. Ritzeh Adonai, Eloheinu, Be'amecha Yisrael, U'tefilatam, Be'ava tikabel. Humbled in prayer, we seek to reach you. Hoping to be heard, hearts open wide, longing to be true. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts that we may hear your still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. And may we answer when you call. Ritzeh Adonai, Eloheinu, Be'amecha Yisrael, U'tefilatam, Be'ava tikabel. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts that we may hear your still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. And may we answer when you call. And may you answer when we call. Ritzeh Adonai, Eloheinu, Ritzeh Adonai, Eloheinu.
May you answer when we call. But first, may we be a response to the call. That is really the heart of Jewish tradition and practice, is a call out of the ethics and values of our tradition to be an answer to the needs in our world and in our time. So we have the great gift tonight of having on our Limud Shabbat, our Shabbat of learning, we have the great gift of Samuel Chu joining us from Mazon, which is the Jewish organization really truly dedicated to addressing the needs of the food insecure, the hungry in our own neighborhood, in our own city, as well as around the world. So he is dedicating his time and talent and energy to helping educate communities about food insecurity and the ways that we might really be of help to those in need. Samuel, please honor us with coming to the Bima and sharing with us your Eitzah.
Thank you. I want to thank the community for allowing me to be a part of this community, and the families of the two great young women. That this is your weekend, and thanks for letting me crash it. I want to begin. I won't take a lot of time this Shabbat, but I want to at least say out loud that it's kind of obvious that I'm not what you would expect when you say the Jewish response to hunger. And I was in Minnesota, Minneapolis, and St. Paul this past few days, and whenever the legislators in the legislature look at the testimony list and see the name Samuel Chu, they're a little bit scratching their head. It's like, where is this Jewish guy that is supposed to be talking about hunger? And so I recognize the unlikelihood of me being here, and I also recognize the sacredness of community like this one that have welcomed me into their midst. I came to the Jewish response to hunger through a fairly windy road. And I know that for many of you who go through bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah, you do projects and there are things that you devote yourself to repair the world as part of your growing up, as part of your invitation, as a part of your welcoming to the community. In some way, I kind of see my life as a series of those kind of bar mitzvah projects. I left my family early, came here to the United States when I was 12, and so I had to sort of rebuild my life here. And I accidentally started my first church when I was 18 in San Diego and built a church into a community of about 500 the first year I was a freshman in college. And then I left and came back to Los Angeles and worked in the neighborhood full of immigrants in Koreatown, of a community that was largely undocumented immigrants from Latin America, where I was the only person who speaks Chinese. And then I spent 2 years running and leading the efforts against discrimination of LGBTQ families and individuals here in the state of California as the head of the largest religious coalition. And then I spent another 3 years trying to convince people that I actually am straight. And so when I left that work, and Abby Littman, who sends her greeting as the president and the CEO of Mazone, and when the Jewish Response to Hunger called, I said to her, well, I'm ready. And so this Southern Baptist boy from Hong Kong who pastored at a Presbyterian church now traveled across the country to call and invite actions to end hunger in this country and in Israel. Everywhere I travel, including here at Chu-KI, I hear stories of how community have tried to and have stepped up to respond to the issue of hunger. And they often tell me how many tons of food they have gathered in the last High Holy Days or throughout the last year. And I always wonder, do they weigh each can by itself? Or do they, when they say 16 tons, is that just what's on the box? And then I would listen and hear both the energy and the commitment and the passion to end hunger. And I think of also underneath that, the struggle, that when we say that 50 million people in this country goes food insecure each day, that there is this deeper struggle of what can I do to alleviate that suffering? That there is sort of this detached recognition of deeper understanding that perhaps just bringing that can or writing that check for Mazone once a year isn't getting to the place of the core of that need. I had a chance to speak to the Social Justice Committee here in this community, and that's sort of led to this moment of beginning this work together at Chu-KI and Mazone. And I reminded them that as we did our work throughout the last 15, 20, 25 years at Mazone, we begin to realize that 97% of the time, people hear from their bima, from their pulpit, and even from Sesame Street, the response to hunger they hear is about donating cans and going to your food pantries and volunteering at your food banks. But it is our experience from our own work that that emergency food distribution system that we depend on to support only amount to about 3% of the needs that people have. We don't like to hear truths like that because it makes us not only uneasy about the limitation of our effectiveness and of our commitment, but because it renders us feeling helpless about why is it that 97% of the time we're only addressing 3% of the response. And so my work this evening and my relationship with this community as part of our hope is that it will spur and call forth a response to address the 97% of the solution that are often ignored. Mazon in its history, as we raise money and resources and educate Jewish community across the country to support the work of advocacy of reducing hunger, begin to take shape over the last quarter century to think about how we're investing our resources in that 97% of the solution. How does the safety net of our city, county, and state and federal government continue to be the core of the necessary response to people who are struggling? But what hasn't happened until the last 2 years is that we have not invited the imagination and the participations of communities like yours to be able to say, what can we do beyond that 3%, of that canned food that we donate and that check that we write? What can we be as a Jewish response to hunger? And my work began in Minneapolis, of all places, because I always choose the coldest place to start. And I went to a community in Minneapolis, just outside of Minneapolis, Minnetonka, where a synagogue began to take on this call. That they heard this invitation and they say, Samuel and Mazon, help us to respond and be the Jewish response to hunger. And throughout a series of research and meetings with communities, with advocates, with legislators, they begin to discover that something weird was happening in the schools. That there was a story that emerged that as kids who are on federally subsidized free and reduced lunch programs were making their ways through their lunch line in their elementary, middle, and high schools, some of the kids were being turned away from their lunch. Some of them got pulled aside and said, we're going to give you a little bit of a substitute lunch because you're not able to pay your co-payment of 40 cents a day for your full, nutritious lunch. And so they get a peanut butter sandwich. Some of them get a bag of crackers. And then are told that you got to go back home and tell your mom to pay the bills. And one story became sort of the apex of the research of the core of why we do this is that we heard one of the students was walking through the lines, getting her food on her trays, and then when he got to the cashiers and they discovered after she punched into a code that she was owed money, they took her tray and scraped up her food and said, remind your parents, this way you will remember. And so I won't go into all the details, but throughout the last year, the synagogues have brought in 5 other synagogues and 15 other nonprofit organizations. And yesterday, actually 2 days ago, 2 bills were introduced, sponsored by Mazon and the synagogue in Minnetonka, in the state legislature of Minnesota, that says that no kid whose family struggles to pay that 40 cents should ever be turned away from having a nutritious lunch. This is the work of responding communally, urgently, and Jewishly to the needs that we see in our communities. And so the invitation for you and for this community is, will you find in yourself and each other the fire, the passion, and the imagination to respond to hunger in this community? A number of synagogues in California have begun to work, and I would hope that KI would begin to take part in that, of researching why is it that so many kids are unable to start their day in school with a nutritious, full breakfast. We've heard stories of families who look at their 3 children and say, well, 1 children can have breakfast, but what about the other 2? We've heard stories about veterans who are overseas currently in Afghanistan, whose family cannot actually afford their living expenses, and yet they are prevented from getting federal benefits of food stamps because the housing allowance that they're getting from the military puts them over the threshold. We're hearing from veterans who come back from Afghanistan and Iraq who says to us that they cannot find a job in their city and county, but that they are getting sanctioned from their benefit from government because there's a work requirement. And if you don't work, you don't get support. As our synagogues all across the state is beginning this work of researching, of finding ways to respond to that 97% of the solution of ending hunger, I believe that community like this one can take a central and leadership role in ending and reducing hunger right here in California. And so I know that the two young women knew that this was their weekend. This was your moment to step and become a part of this community. But I want to expand that. Just like every time I step into a Caribou Coffee in Minneapolis, I know I have to look for the person who's looking for me because they don't actually know that Samuel Chu actually works for the Jewish Response to Hunger. I'm going to look into this room and this congregation and know that many of you didn't walk in here tonight expecting to answer, to meet this call. But I'm going to leave it up to you. Laura, who is here, the rabbis who's here, we're going to try to put together a response right here at Chu-KI to the issue of hunger right here in California. And however unlikely you feel like you might be the person, I'm going to ask you to go and speak to Laura, speak to me, speak to Rabbi Bernstein, because maybe you are, in the most unlikely way, the Jewish response to hunger for us. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
It's good we have malachim. It's good we have messengers working among us that can inspire and help direct our good intentions to go exactly the right way where they're needed. And to that, our families of our Benot Mitzvah have generously made this amazing bima look so beautiful with all of the fresh produce that you see here. So rather than just flowers, which are fantastic and wonderful, and we love having them always, we also have fresh produce, which are bright and colorful in and of themselves, what comes after the flower. And in our case, we decorate the bima with these because when families agree to generously purchase that for the bima, it goes immediately to the West Side Food Bank after the simcha, so that people who are food insecure at the West Side Food Bank get nutritious, fresh produce. Because often folks who are food insecure, when they are given food, it's processed, boxed food that is not the most nutritious and not what they need for growing hair and teeth and eyes and lungs and hearts. So we thank this family and every family who chooses to make that choice so that we can help those in our community get the nutrients that they need that we take so often for granted. Speaking of fruit, we bless the fruit of Chu-KI on page 119. Carol will lead us in the blessing of God who gives us the fruit of the vine, and she's going to slide to the left to the microphone right here.
Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho באהבה וברצון, הנהי לנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי אלינו קראת ואותנו קידשת לעבודתך, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
We come now to our time of remembrance. We come to Mourner's Kaddish, found on page 131. Perished in the Shoah in defense of our country and the land of Israel. We remember and stand for those who have no one but us to say Kaddish for them. We say Kaddish for those who have died during the past 30 days. Thelma Altschul, John Meggery, Helen Stromberg, David Ravitch, David Braun, Ida Cohn, Phyllis Bramson, Howard Phillips, George Terry, and Arnold Birnbaum. If you look at the back of your Shabbat handout, you will find the names and relationships of those whose yard sites fall on this Shabbat. So we as a KI community remember Maury Abrams, Ruth Aronson, and a founding member of KI, Ernie Arbach. We remember Tonya Benton, Bertha Brostoff, Joe Cohen, Samuel Dickel, James Donald, Alfred Dorn, Ben Dosick, David Druss, Jack Elster, Ilsa Engel, Irving Fine, Susan Fine, Louis Fink, Robert Fremont, Steve Geffner, Judith Geisner, Lawrence Janot, Harry Gerson, Robert Goldenhirsch, Johnny Gonda, Bernard Gordon, Sheldon Green, Shirley Canner, Eva Kanoff, Milton Kessler, Martin Kaufman, Nan Korngut, Norman Kaz, Arthur Laurie, Marilyn Lee, Jacob Leibowitz, Edith Leiser, Doris Levine, Rose Lieblein, Asher Liff, Sylvia Lurie, Lillian Lynn, Mary Mast, Faye Newman, Ellis Narafshin, Ray Olson, Irving Ostro, David Resnick, Etta Mae Ringer, Robert Ringer, Mary Rosenberg, Harriet Sachs, Henry Samuelin, Dave Sanders, Ethel Shenbaum, Anna Shapiro, Pauline Bessie Slater, Joseph Slan, Alex Stern, Samuel Strakens, Louis Sugarman, Adele Wolf, Yetta Wolf, Milton Zarensky, and Robert Zweig. Are there other people that we're remembering tonight as we say Kaddish? We recite Mourner's Kaddish, thanking the source of life for the gift of their lives. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabba. Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol be'Yisrael. Ba'galau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Omeomaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei Dekucha Brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tuj bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'yamru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. May the source of wholeness in this world, may the source that holds everything together in the cosmos work through us this Shabbat and into the coming week in such a way that we can contribute to a world that is more whole and therefore one step closer to peace. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated. And our congregational announcements are that Purim's coming, yes? And so our Purim extravaganza is Friday, February 22nd at 5:30 p.m. We have circus performers and pizza and pizza dinner and mask decorations, all kinds of grooviness. And at 7 p.m. we have our fabulous service in here, which includes a very short, don't worry about it, Megillah reading. But come, it's a fantastic evening at Chu-KI. And Tuesday, February 26th is Purim at the Pier. So Purim at the Pier is back. We didn't have it last year. We had Yom Ha'atzmaut at the Pier, which just didn't quite alliterate. Thank you, Laura Diamond. It did not alliterate, nor did it resonate. So we are again doing Purim at the Pier, Tuesday, February 26th at Pacific Park. So get your wristbands for the Pier and RSVP for both events, either here or at www.ourki.org. A priest, a rabbi, and a sheikh walk into a bar, but actually we'll be walking into Corpus Christi Church on Tuesday night, where we will be discussing the role of women in each of those traditions. Rabbi Reuben is on sabbatical, so I'll be the person on the panel. How appropriate. So please join us. Check our web page and our website often. Watch us on streaming if you can't be here with us. We stream everything that happens in our sanctuary on our website. So please join us in whatever way you can, in person or virtually. You going to take us out? Daniel Leance is going to take us out. Michael Asher is with us every Friday night. A blessing.
Say shalom b'mromav, huya say shalom aleinu. Say shalom b'mromav, huya say shalom aleinu. Say shalom b'mromav. Aleinu, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. Shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh Shalom aleinu, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom,
Shalom Aleinu.
Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol
Shabbat shalom. Turn to someone next to you. Wish them Shabbat shalom.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam.
Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol ha'olam.
Yaseh shalom,
Yaseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol
You got one more song in there?
Yeah, baby. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Hey guys, congratulations. Congratulations.
Right here.
Shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, et HaShabbat asu et HaShabbat l'dorotam berit olam, berit olam.